Before we open the meeting, we do have to come out of executive session. It was 7 o'clock, 7:01, I think, when we exited executive session. I need a motion. Councilmember Jazinski, seconded by Councilmember Pilarski. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we adjourned executive session. Now we're going to open this regular meeting. Could we please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please continue to stand as we have a moment of silence for our veterans. And tonight for the invocation, we have Reverend Rick Masano.
Let's pray. Father, we want to thank you for all your goodness and mercy you show to us. We thank you for the police officers who are here to keep us safe. We thank you, Father, for all the fire departments and the people who are here to represent the fire departments here in Cheektowaga, Lord, that they keep our homes safe. Lord, there are so many people, Lord, in this town that care about one another, care about our community. And Lord, I pray, Father, that your Spirit will work very well in this meeting today, because, Father, these are elected officials. They are elected by us to represent us in this community. We ask that everything will be said and done be according to your will. We ask your blessing here. If we ask it in your name, amen.
Amen. Please be seated. Madam Clerk, could I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Christine Adamczak. Here. Councilmember Linda Hammer. Here. Councilmember Michael Jazinski.
Here.
Councilmember Gerald Kaminsky. Councilmember Brian Nowak.
Present.
Councilmember Brian Pilarski.
Present.
Supervisor Diane Benchkowski.
Here. Okay, we have 7 present tonight. First order of business is we have several presentations. I'd like to start with a proclamation the town board would like to present to the wife of Fred Beeman, Patricia, and daughter Whitney. Are you here tonight? Oh, okay. Fred Beeman was he chairman or president? Chair of the Conservation Advisory Committee, and he just recently passed away, and we are presenting the family a proclamation in honor of the work that Fred did for the town and being the chair of this committee. So that was the first presentation. So the second one, I see plenty of firemen here, is a former housing inspector and was a fireman. His name is Larry Rukitka, or Larry Rukitka. We have wife Noreen here tonight, Noreen, and children Andrew and Mary Beth. Noreen, do you want to come up? Town board, do you want to come around? Present this to them. I'm going to have to go by the podium. Okay. I just wanted to make sure we could hear me on the YouTube. So this is a proclamation for Lawrence Rukitka. In conjunction with the town board and the town supervisor, we pay the highest possible tribute to Larry Rukitka in memory of his service, dedication, and contributions to the community and the town of Cheektowaga. Whereas Larry, a graduate of Hutchinson Tech High School, Erie Community College, and SUNY Empire State College, worked as an electrician for Buffalo Electric, Anco Electric, and Ferguson Electric. Larry was the superintendent in the Buffalo office of the New York State Office of General Services and a code enforcement officer in the town of Cheektowaga Housing and Neighborhood Preservation Department. Whereas Larry was a member of Doyle Volunteer Hose Company No. 2 for over 50 years, where he served as chief, first, second, and third assistant chief, vice president, board of directors, and Fire District Commissioner for 35 years, and as Company Secretary for 27 years. He was awarded Doyle II Fireman of the Year, President's Award, Lifetime Achievement Award, and the Erie County Fire Chiefs Service Award. And whereas Larry was born in September, but he and his family celebrated his birthday every year since 1998 on June 28th, the day he received a second lease on life thanks to a lung transplant at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, which allowed him to continue assisting people in the community, attend his children's weddings, and be a proud and active grandfather to his 5 grandchildren. What a wonderful guy. Larry passed away on August 25th, 2022 at the age of 72 and is survived by his wife of 47 years, Noreen, their 2 children together, Andrew and Mary Beth Powell, and 5 grandchildren. Resolved that the Town Board honors Larry Rukitka in memory of his service, dedication, and contributions to our community and the town of Cheektowaga, and adjourn the September 13th Town Board meeting in his memory. So, this is for you. If you'd like, we'll give you a couple minutes. If anybody wants to take pictures up here, we'll kind of scooch with this family, possibly. And or if you want the board, I don't know, but you should probably get your officers with family, whatever you want to do. Oh, this is. Yep, why don't you get a couple of out then? Lines are open. Next, we have Carl Widmer from Drescher and Malecki. Carl, sorry to make you wait. Oh, there you are. I was wondering what happened to you. Okay, so I think we have your presentation that the town
Yes.
clerk's going to put up for.
Have clicker. See if this goes through. It worked before, right? There we go. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Carl Widmer. I think we know most of the people here by now. With me tonight is Corey Svensson. She's the manager on the job, also at Drescher Malecki. We're here tonight to present on the results of the town's audit for the fiscal year ended December 31st, 2021. We conducted the testing and the performance of our audit mainly during the month of May. I would say it was most of the work. Issued the financial statements by the end of June so that they were able to be submitted to the GFOA for that financial reporting award. And then followed up by a second reporting date issuance in mid-August when we finished reporting with the compliance audit or the single audit over the federal award programs. So tonight, as in past years, we did put together a short slideshow just to try to get a brief description of the audit process this year and capture a little bit of the financial statement highlights as well. So we'll We'll go through those. First up, the products for our audit each year, what you can expect coming from Drescher Malecki. Of course, the financial statements. Those were issued June 29th, and that is the main document that comes out of Drescher Malecki's audit. It is the town's financial statement. Just our opinion is included in that report. Those are the pages that we own, but it is the town's financial statement, presents the results for the year and your fund balances at December 31st. The single audit, this is a special compliance audit over the federal awards that the town receives and then administers programs. The largest federal program that's run at the town level is the CDBG program, the Community Block Grant Development. Also, a couple letters, auditor communications and a management letter. We have the opportunity to identify what the town and the staff management's responsibilities were throughout the course of the audit, and also what our responsibilities were to make sure that both sides hold up your end of the bargain, and also provide some best practices. We perform audits throughout the state. We perform many audits for Erie County towns specifically, so we see a lot of different things that could help the town of Cheektowaga as well. So if we see an opportunity where we think we might be able to share an idea that would help out operations here, we do that. And that'll be in the management letter. The final two, a departmental report. There's a small financial statement which covers the activities that occur in the clerk's office, justice, as well as recreation. Finally, we do assist with submitting the state report. It's called the Annual Update Document, or the AUD. That's due by May 1st each year, and we got that in on time with the help of your Director of Finance, Mr. Kraus. So moving on to the financial statement update, I think Corey's going to start us off with a couple of the major funds.
So for the financial statement update, what you'll see in the coming slides is about 4 of the town's funds: the garbage fund, sewer fund, highway, and general fund. So we're going to go through each fund briefly, talk about the trend of operations for the 2021 fiscal year, and also talk about the fund balance trend over the last 5 years. So turning to the next slide, slide 2. This is the past 5 years operations trends for the consolidated garbage fund. You can see the blue line represents the revenues and transfers in. The orange line represents the expenditures and transfers out. They stayed pretty consistent from the prior year, just increasing slightly. They both increased from about 8.9 million up to 9.3 million. And these were mainly small increases in fuel and equipment and in some employee benefits. Moving on to slide 3, this shows the fund balance trend of the last 5 years. So you can see on the right, you have the 2021 column, and the total garbage fund balance ended at about 2.56 million this year, just a small increase of about $1,900 from 2020. So you can see not much of a change there. Overall classifications also remained pretty consistent. That top gray portion is the non-spendable portion, which represents the prepaid items, which is mainly the retirement. And then the item below is the assigned for subsequent years expenditures, and this is what's assigned in the town's budget. And then lastly is the 2.176 million, which shows the available to use fund balance within the garbage fund, which is what is remaining. And comparing from 2020 to 2021, as a benchmark, you can compare the available fund balance, that 2.1 million, to the total current year spending. For 2021, it was at 23%, and 2020 it was 24%, so pretty consistent. And the next slide, slide 4, shows the town sewer fund, the operations for the year. You can see the revenue, that blue line, was pretty consistent from 2020. It only changed about 30,000 from the prior year to ending at 12.5 million for 2021. And then the orange line, the expenditure, that decreased about 1 million from the prior year and ended at 11.4. And this was mainly due to contractual costs with the Buffalo Sewer Authority. The billings vary year to year, so that can change. And slide 5 shows the fund balance trend for the sewer fund. Excuse me. Total fund balance ended at about 8.7 million, $1 million increase from last year, which is contributed to those contractual costs through the Buffalo Sewer Authority that I mentioned. And then the classifications, you can see that non-spendable portion is a really small amount, also related to prepaids. 3.648 million for the assigned for subsequent year's budget. And then the last portion is 5 million, which is available to use. And this increased from last year, 3.9. For that benchmark I mentioned, comparing the available fund balance to the current year's spending, 2021 was about 44%, where last year it was 32%. And we're gonna move on to highway fund. I'll switch it over to Carl to finish the operations.
Thanks, Corey. So in the highway fund, you can see that the trend, at least over the past 5 years that are up on the graph, it's been a positive trend or an increase in fund balance. And the reason for the sharp increase in 2021 is the highway fund is the benefit fund who's going to receive sales tax proceeds. So 2021 came in, record numbers as far as sales tax, beyond what the budget was expecting, beyond what anybody even projected. So really strong performance, ended up increasing revenues over 1.5 million compared to last year. So reaping the benefits of that sales tax revenue combined with some controlled spending, total highway fund balance increased about $2.5 million. So at the end of 2020, that total fund balance was just about 10 million. Now it's approaching 12.5 million. Corey had pointed out the classification of fund balance that readers of financial statements are going to focus on is that available fund balance. So your blue portion here. You can see the increase from the past 4 years up to 2021. We're now at $9.7 million in the available fund balance, and that's representing 78% of the year's spending. Just last year, that was 56%. So unexpected use of or receiving sales tax revenue, but it really does free up options. You're entering budget season right now. You can see that highway fund had a solid 2021. Finally, the largest fund, general fund. If anybody is going to open your financial statements and spend 2 minutes with it, they're going to look at the general fund. So here we have the 5 years of activity, and for each of the last 4 years at least, revenues have come in on top of expenditures, which leads to an increase in fund balance. In 2021, total revenues, they're rather consistent compared to last year. A notable increase was in mortgage tax. That was unexpected, over $500,000 higher than last year. But with revenues about 56 million above expenditures, total fund balance increased 3.3 million for the year for 2021 in the general fund. When you look at your fund balance levels, of course you can see the bar graph is going to increase for each of those last 4 years as revenues came in higher than expenditures. Where did that increase in fund balance go as far as the different classifications? You can see your general fund's a little bit more colorful. There are more types of fund balance that are reported in the financial statements. Two to point out tonight. Second from the top are your restricted fund balances, and that's primarily an insurance reserve. That was able to increase nearly $2 million compared to last year. And then the rest of the increase went to that blue portion, your available unassigned fund balance. This one, unassigned fund balance at the end of last year was at 20%. This year, that 12.79 million of unassigned represents 24%. So it really was a good year for the general fund. This also satisfies the town's fund balance policy. The policy at the town is that this available fund balance meets at least 15% when you're comparing it to a year's spending. You matched that in 2019 and have since improved in that position up to 24% this year. Finally, wrapping up, the last slide is just our contact information so you have it easy. But overall observations, again, it was a smooth audit. We didn't mention yet, but the financial statements that were issued have our professional opinion, and that's what readers of the financial statements are looking from Drescher and Malecki is, do we believe these financial statements are fairly stated and can be relied upon? We came to that conclusion. That's called an unmodified opinion. That's what the town received. So no reportable findings and internal control. And that's about the gist of it for the main points to touch on tonight. If anybody had any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Town board members?
I've got a couple questions.
Yes,
Would you happen to know offhand the overall fund balance increase? I mean, I can go back and read all the blue ones and do that.
For
but
all funds?
all of them together, yeah.
All funds. Was actually a decrease in fund balance of about $100,000.
All right.
So in your financial statements, it'd be page 24. The majority of that is capital project spending. So capital projects sort of muddies the waters as far as if you want to look at it compared to a budget. You don't put a budget together annually on capital projects, but
And you said we're at 24% of our fund balance reserve versus the 15, which our policy states. Is that correct, or?
in the general fund,
Yeah.
the policy states a minimum of 15%. And that, you reached that at the end of 2019 and have since improved for the 2 past years.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Sure. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you very
Very
much.
much, and Corey, it's good to see you both, and wonderful audit. Glad, good news. Okay, we're at the public comment period. Also, if anybody did want to comment on the presentation that tonight, that would have been the audit, that's part of the agenda, so you're able to do that. This is an opportunity for residents to comment on items appearing on the agenda of the town board meeting tonight. The public comment period should last 15 minutes maximum. Each speaker may speak only once, and each speaker shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes speaking time. First speaker is Gary Borick.
I'm here to keep encouraging you to increase those senior exemptions. It's nice that you're doing the max you could at the time you proposed it, but you don't have much time left to get on to next year's for the remainder. And I know you spoke about it at the work session. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't go to the max allowed. If you really want to protect seniors from tax, which I've heard all of you talk about, that's the way to do it. But along with that, I think seniors also could benefit if you adopted the homestead provisions, particularly this year, because we've had a huge shift in the assessed ratios going from commercial to residential. And you only have to do it for 1 year. You can change that every year. But if you did it before the end of this year, so it applies to our bills coming up, I think it would be very beneficial for residential owners. It won't be so great for commercial owners, but they're getting a break. A lot of people got their tax bills. Some people went down a few hundred, some people went up. But remember those properties that I was complaining about, the no-co properties that I think our assessor dropped the ball on? One of them got a $2,000 reduction in school tax. The other one got a $1,400 reduction in school tax. Commercial properties, I have a couple of clients with commercial properties. They got reductions in school tax because of this big shift. So along with the senior increasing the exemption to benefit everybody, if you adopt the homestead rule, it'll solidify that ratio from last year to make sure it doesn't increase this year. That'll mean there will be different rates between commercial and residential, and you can revoke it next year if you don't like it, but at least for this year it would protect them. But you got to do something before December, I think, December 1st or January 1st, certainly. And you only got, what, 6, 8 meetings left. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. And Reverend Rick?
Madam Supervisor, I'd like to relinquish my time to Mr. James McDermott, who is the Vice President of Maryvale School Board.
Hi, James.
Good evening. Again, James McDermott, Maryvale School Board Vice President. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Chief Gold as well as the rest of you for your anticipated approval of item number 18, which is the pilot program for the SRO in district. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, James. We still have time for you, Rev.
That's all we're going to speak on.
Oh, okay.
About what you're going to do tonight.
we're happy to have it taken care of. Did you want to say anything, Chief Gould? We have a couple minutes in the public comment period.
Sure, I can just update the board and the community on the school resource officer program. All 4 school superintendents approached myself and the board earlier this summer about expanding our school liaison program to a full-time school resource officer program. The program has started just because of timing at Cleveland Hill School District. Our officer is there doing a great job, being well received by the staff, the community, and the children at the school. Both Maryvale and Cheektowaga Central are up for a vote today. Cheektowaga Sloan is interested in exploring this and is in support of the project. They, however, have a contract already with a security company. So for the first year, we plan on keeping that a liaison part-time program, but they are, this is a unified front between, the police department, the men and women of our department working hard in their schools and our communities to keep them safe, along with the support of the town board and the school districts. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for getting that done, and the negotiations went very smoothly, and we're happy to do that for our schools and our children. Okay, I'll call that public comment period to a close, and we'll move on to our consent agenda announcement. Tonight, we have a consent agenda as part of this meeting. If any council member wishes to remove an item for discussion, please tell me now, and I will remove the item from the consent agenda, and it will be added as a separate resolution item.
Can we have number 18 for a roll call, please?
What resolution number? Was that 2022-506?
Correct, yeah, number 18 with Maryville.
All right. 2022-506 is pulled for a separate vote. And that's it? All right. So at this point, I need a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented. Councilmember Hammer, seconded by Councilmember Adamczak. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Madam Clerk, I'll hand it over to you.
I have a motion by Supervisor Benchkowski, second by Councilmember Adamczak, to approve all items on the consent agenda, including the meeting minutes of August 23rd, 2022, and resolution items 2022-488 through 518. We are going to recognize that 496 is missing from our list. We are also going to recognize that 495 and 499, we had amended movers at the work session. 506 was pulled, will be handled as separate resolution item, and 512 and 513 were also pulled at the work session. Are we in agreement?
Yes.
I need a roll call vote to approve the consent agenda items. Councilmember Adamczak? Yes. Councilmember Hammer? Yes. Councilmember Jazinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaminsky? Yes. Councilmember Nowak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
Yes.
Supervisor Benchkowski?
Yes.
All remaining items on the consent agenda have passed. We have one resolution item that is going to be resolution item 2022-506, and it is sponsored by Supervisor Benchkowski, seconded by Councilmember Jazinski. The SROs are typically employed by a local police agency and work closely with administrators in an effort to create a safer environment for public students and staff. The town of Cheektowaga, through the police department, employs sworn police officers capable of performing the duties and functions of school resource officers assigned to provide law enforcement expertise and resources to assist school staff in maintaining safety and order. The town of Cheektowaga and Maryville Union Free School District desire to enter into an intermunicipal pilot agreement, school resource officer, with the purpose of formalizing this relationship between the district and the town beginning on October 1st, 2022, and ending June 30th, 2023. The supervisor be and hereby is authorized and directed to execute the aforesaid pilot agreement with Maryville Union Free School District under the terms and conditions set forth within.
On the question, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Councilmember Adamczak? Yes. Councilmember Hammer? Yes. Councilmember Jazinski?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaminsky? Yes. Councilmember Nowak?
Yes.
Councilmember Pilarski?
I'm going to abstain because my children attend there and my wife is on the school board.
Supervisor Benchkowski?
Yes.
Motion is carried. I need a motion and a second to waive the rules to include resolution item 2022-519. Could I have a motion? Councilmember Pilarski, second. Councilmember Noah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 2022-519 is sponsored by Councilmember Noah, seconded by Supervisor Benchkowski. A contingent provisional vacancy exists in the position of Assistant Code Enforcement Officer in the Building and Plumbing Department. A current list does not exist for said title. Susan Sansgrant, currently a senior clerk in the Building and Plumbing Department, bid on said title. Susan Sansgrant of Chickawaga, New York, being and hereby is appointed to the contingent provisional position of Assistant Code Enforcement Officer in the Building and Plumbing Department in accordance with the terms and conditions of the town's collective bargaining agreement with the Town of Chickawaga Employees Association, effective September 14th, 2022.
On the question, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
That's the end of our resolution items. The town clerk's office did receive communications from the planning board, the minutes of July 14th, 2022, and the planning board minutes of August 11th, 2022. General communications were 3 notices of claim and 1 notice of appearance.
No comments from me, council members?
I got a comment.
Yes.
Yeah, in the public comment period, the idea of the homestead, non-homestead, 2-tier tax system was brought up. It's something that's done in the town of Tonawanda, it's done in Buffalo, there's other towns in New York that do it. There's research out of SUNY New Paltz, I think there's a second study, I forget exactly who put that out, that get into the benefits and drawbacks of it. I'd be happy to provide that with members of the board. It's something I've looked into. And in the SUNY New Paltz study, they talk about the impact on commercial properties if you do such a thing. And in that, they show that it doesn't have a negative benefit in terms of pushing business away from your community. It's something I'm supportive of, and if we want to talk about that at a future work session, I'd be happy to introduce that, get the studies over to you guys, summarize them if you'd like, and, you know, we can put it off a couple of meetings, a few months, whatever, so you have time to look through it. But I would welcome a discussion on that.
Okay, let me know when you want to be on the work session, and we'll add you on, and we can discuss it. But, yeah, you can send us the information sooner than later and get going on that. I'm interested, too. Anybody else?
I'm glad the board approved the SRO officers at these schools. I mean, it's a great opportunity for officers to protect our children in the schools, but also bridge the gap between community and our officers, and then teach them prevention and stuff like that. So I see a whole bunch of benefits coming from it, and I thank our officers for that as well. Chief, thanks for working on that.
Okay, I will move on to public comments. This is the opportunity for residents to comment on matters involving Cheektowaga. The public comment period should last 15 minutes maximum. Each speaker may speak only once, and each speaker shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes speaking time. We have Daryl Laskowitz here today. Daryl, welcome.
Thank you, Supervisor. Members of the board, if I haven't formally been introduced to you, my name is Daryl Leskowitz. I am the president of the police club. And the reason that I'm here today is just to speak a few minutes on our disappointment in the board's decision to deny our request for the use of ARPA funding towards our officers. My purpose in coming here is not to be adversarial, to point fingers, or to do anything like that. I don't believe in that approach. But my voice is the voice of the entire body, just like the supervisor represents the board when she speaks, and the chief of police represents the department when he speaks. I'd be remiss in my duties if I didn't express those concerns to you. It was our officers that, you know, on a daily basis during the pandemic, went to calls for service, and they did it with the utmost professionalism without missing a beat. We answered, you know, calls for people that needed assistance with, you know, natural death type of calls, people suffering from depression through the pandemic, people that suffer from addiction and needed treatment and counseling. And our members did that without missing a beat, and they did it with professionalism and dignity. But that came at a cost to our guys. We had members that were not only sick, but were hospitalized because of the type of interactions that they were subjected to. And
It's not that we don't appreciate some of the uses of that funding for the department. It genuinely is going to make the department better, and we're happy for that. But this was a specific request to recognize those officers that had to sacrifice during that time. They didn't have the luxury of changing their shift. They didn't have the luxury, like other departments did, to work remotely, to work half days, any of that. They came in, day out, and provided the service to our community to keep our community safe and a place that we can raise our kids in. And frankly, they did that without question, and then went home after those exposures and had to deal with their family and their children who were out of school, who were at home and isolated, and that took a toll on us. And like I said, I just wanted to express that disappointment because some of the conversation revolved around the different departments, and I don't mean that just in the town. I mean, other police agencies as well. But some of the comparisons that were drawn is it's an apples to oranges type of conversation. Our job is inherently different. That's why we wear bulletproof vests. These guys and gals, they go to work every single day and they conduct themselves like professionals. This request was to honor that and to recognize that. And I understand that there is some support, on the board for that. And I hope that there could be some discussion in the future. I've sent emails and tried to reach out. If you want to have a conversation and reconsider that decision, I would love to sit down and talk about it with you.
We're at the 3-minute mark,
Okay.
Gerald, but
Okay.
I appreciate you coming. I don't think it was a hard no that we got your request. I told you we did, and it's in
Yeah.
discussion now, so.
And I know you had said that to me, and I do appreciate that. And like I said,
I don't
it's not,
think anybody made
this
it.
isn't coming from a place of trying to create an adversary type environment. It's just a genuine, maybe we can reconsider and recognize this is what it's like to have a good working relationship between the town board and the police department members, and it's not another unit that has those same type of problems. And what a way to display that, but to grant a request like this. So thank you, I appreciate it.
If you have more to say, I'm fine with extending the time to hear you out more.
I kind of planned for 3 minutes. I appreciate
Okay.
that. I tried to rush through it, but I mean that was the nuts and bolts of it. It's genuine disappointment, and I don't want to point fingers at another department in the town because everyone provides services, right? And I don't want to minimize that or take that away, but it's not the same. It's not the same as what the police did day in and day out through that. I mean, they were exposed because we provide 24/7, 7 days a week. I mean, constant service to the community, and they did it without the, I don't want to say luxury, but it's a function of what they do. They couldn't do it remote. You can't do our job remotely, right? We have to be in the cars. We have to be interacting with the people, and that came at quite a price. And if we want to sit down and discuss some of the numbers of how many people were out sick, and we had officers that were hospitalized because of this, and that's because of the exposure that they were subjected to. So when we formulated a request, which is laid out in the Rescue Plan Act of what's allowed, it was a request to kind of recognize that, kind of set the a level of appreciation and say this is a completely different job what these guys do compared to what those guys do. Like I said, these guys and gals have a lot of pride in their profession, and they know it's considerably different to put a bulletproof vest on and go to work and deal with some of the dangers that we deal with on a daily basis. You've heard the chief of police say that. You've heard us say that time and time again, and that's where the request came from. Just a level of appreciation, and honestly, I mean, it's good to have a good working relationship, right? And some of those things can be pointed out to others to say this is something, these guys were granted this because of the way they've conducted themselves and the type of relationship that you have as working with a board. So again, I want to express my gratitude. I didn't want to be adversarial by any means, and we do appreciate money for things in the department that have come through and that the chief has fought hard for to get. Those are appreciated. But this was a specific, if you ask the guys that go to work every single day, it's nice to have a new car, and it's nice to have some nice new equipment. But given the struggles that, you know, they were exposed to and the things, it's also nice to be recognized individually as opposed to, you know, the entire department. So I appreciate the board's time. I look forward, if you want to discuss it further, I look forward to having that conversation with you. And like I said, I know there was some support on the board, and you know, I hope those that are kind of wavering or have questions about it, reach out, contact me, and maybe we can discuss that, and they change their opinion on that. So, thank you.
Thanks, Daryl, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Councilmember Adams?
Do we need to go to
add?
executive session?
No, we have to go to attorney-client
Attorney-
privilege, so we don't need a motion for that.